All right, friends, I started to work on this video and I was going to do all of the plugins that I've ever used. And then I looked at my iLok licenses and it was something like 800 in some change. And we're not doing that. I'm not putting you through that. That would take like 12 hours. So what I've decided to do instead is to break it up into categories. So we're going to do a few of these videos, but today we're going to focus on compressors. So these are all of the plugin compressors that I've used that I think are worth talking about. It's not all of them because, believe it or not, even if we just did compressors, we would still be here for hours. So I narrowed it down into just a bunch that I felt were worthy of talking about. And so if anybody is in the comments like, what about this one or this one? Some are just, you know, so we're just going to stick with these today. Now, with that being said, the other thing, this is YouTube fun. It's garbage. It's just, come on. I'm not saying that any plugin sounds bad. Let me repeat. I am not making a claim that any plugin sounds bad. These are just my personal preferences after taking a microscopic zoom in. So shut up. Oh my God, don't take it so seriously. These are plugins, but I know it's the audio community and everybody loves to get ruffled about it. So with that being said, I also need to make this just abundantly clear. I have no sponsors. No singular plugin company is paying me to say any sort of nice words about their plugin. Here, let me prove it. First plugin, UAD Fairchild. I'm over it. That's right. Let's jump right in. Well, before we do that, let's define our terms. Up top, we've got God tier because God tier. Below that, excellent choice, Dan. I only know a couple of Dans and they're all good men. So excellent choice, Dan. Below that, that'll do. That'll do. It's a tool. It's usable. It does its job. That'll do. Below that, I'm over it. The Fairchild. I'm really, truth be told, I might not be a big Fairchild guy. Again, let's define our terms first. And below that, I'm not going to reinstall once I replace my computer. Listen, I've been doing this for a number of years. The first session, I was thinking about this earlier today, the very first session that I was working on as like part of the production team, I wasn't the engineer, but I was one of like the producers on the session. It was 2004, and I was 19 years old, which is kind of crazy to think about. So I've gone through a number of computers, which is also how I have so many freaking plugin licenses. And so, like, over the years, when you replace your computer, you know if you've gone through this, it's like a day. Sometimes multiple days of just making sure everything works and got transferred over and everything's fine. You have to like carve out time. It's a big pain in the butt. And whenever I do that, whenever I switch computers, I just go through and I'll trim the fat on the plugins. Like if I downloaded a plugin and I was just like, it's not really for me. I don't really ever use it. I won't reinstall it. So some of these plugins will actually fall into that category. So let's discover which ones. But let's talk about the Fairchild. Okay, so Fairchild compression, the hardware Fairchild compressor is the most expensive compressor on the planet. I think I found one online that was going for like $250,000, which to me is offensive that any singular piece of gear could ever get that expensive. It's crazy. That thing better make sure, it better guarantee that the music that you're working on turns into a #1 hit. That's what that needs to promise in order to fetch that price, because that's insane. With that being said, I've never heard a real Fairchild. I've heard like other like hardware copies. So like the, I think it's the Unfairchild or the Grandchild, which is made by Heritage Audio. There's the Stamchild. I've heard that one. And they're all great, but here's the deal. It's just not my preference for that type of compression. The only thing that I've ever really used the UAD Fairchild on is like smashing drum rooms. That's kind of the #1 job that I give this. And to me, I'm also just thinking, like, if that's the only thing I do with that style compressor, am I going to keep it? Probably. I don't know, but I'm just kind of over it. So I don't know. It's hanging on by a thread. Okay. And before we, make everybody at Universal Audio very mad at this channel, I also need to be totally fair. This is the Distressor. It's going straight to God tier. Listen, I've said this before on my channel. If I could have one compressor plugin, one singular compressor plugin that would do it all, it would be the UAD Distressor. It's so good. It's crazy. Yes, it is that good. It's got so many different tonal options. You've got different distortion options that give you different characters. It's got, you can, have it be triggered by like the mid-range instead of the lows, which is super useful. You've got the parallel compression knobs that they give you. It can do the optical thing. It can do the fast thing. You can nuke it. You can give it gentle compression. It's so versatile. It's crazy. If I only had one compressor, specifically a plug-in compressor that would do everything, that would be the one that I would choose. It is so good. Okay, let's keep moving on. We got, oh my God, that amount of plugins left. Oh, geez. Okay. Waves V-Comp. The story is that is actually based on the Neve compressor, is what they say on their website. I've used it a number of times. I think it sounds generally good, but it's not like the first one that I reach for. If I'm thinking about a Neve style compressor, that's not really it for me, but that'll do. It'll work. It'll work. I just got to jump in real quick. I've got two things for you. Thing number one. You know how you like it when I'm just honest about stuff? I like that too. I get to tell you my genuine thoughts and feelings about plugins and gear and all the stuff that I've used over the 20 years of doing this. One of the things that makes that possible is the affiliate links that I have down below. Listen, if you use those affiliate links, it costs you nothing. It gives me a tiny little kickback, but those tiny little kickbacks essentially help me to continue to say no to the emails that get sent to me every 3 days, it seems like, where somebody wants to pay me money to say nice words. So using those links helps keep me honest. I also just very much appreciate you for doing that. So if you want to say thank you to the channel, again, it costs you nothing, gives me tiny kickback. I appreciate it. Thing number two. You should subscribe to this channel. Reason why, I've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. So cool thing number one, I've got a vocal session coming in tomorrow. I'm actually staying up super late tonight editing this video and getting ready for that vocal session. I'm gonna film everything behind the scenes. I'm gonna give you the behind the scenes look into not just gear choices and cool mic sounds cool, but also the thought process behind the production and the creative decisions that I will make along with the artist to help to shape the sound of that record. Subscribe so you don't miss that, amongst other really cool stuff too. Okay, let's get back to the video. This is the Purple Audio MC77. It's an 1176 style compressor that I think originally was made by Brainworx. Excellent choice. It does the 1176 thing really well. The crispiness on the top end, it's super responsive, it's aggressive, but it's not the most aggressive 1176 plugin, but it is good, and I do like to use it. Great on bass DI, great on vocals, great on guitar amps. It's an 1176. They're great. This one sounds super good. Okay, FabFilter Pro C-1, I think is what it is. Okay, so I'm actually in between. I'm going to put it in an excellent choice because it's a compressor that does compression, of course. Look, it's a compressor that doesn't necessarily add in like a bunch of character. Honestly, I'm going to say it's pretty transparent. It doesn't add in much of any compressor, but it does what you want a compressor to do. And if you're looking for a transparent compressor, it does it pretty well. The only thing, and I actually will remove points on this, is just that it's so expensive because it's FabFilter. Oh man, it does sound good though. It's got great fidelity. but it's so expensive. There are other plugins that I like more, but it does sound good. Oh man, it lives in between, but I'm gonna keep it an excellent choice because it does sound good, but it's so expensive that I want to knock it down a peg. All right, moving on. UAD LA2A. God tier. Listen, it's not like it's the most versatile compressor on the planet, but it has a few jobs that when I want this sound, this is the exact compressor that I reach for. Heavy electric guitar cabs, even sometimes like pushed clean electric guitar cabs too. This is my go-to. This is my go-to compressor. Very frequently, you will see one compressor. You know, a lot of people will stack up compressors, which on guitar amps, especially high gain, like don't compress too much. The gain is doing a lot of that compression for you. Only compress if you feel like it needs it, or if you're looking to bring out specific harmonic content, which is what I think this does so well. It increases the harmonic content in the mid-range that I love to work with on electric guitars. So it is my go-to electric guitar compressor. It also can sound great on a vocal. It can sound great on an acoustic guitar. It can sound great on like a mic'd up piano. But it's hit or miss for those, but the electric guitar is like an always my go-to for that. So for that reason, because I use it so frequently and I do really enjoy the sound of it, God tier. Technically a limiter, but the FabFilter Pro L2, man, we're putting a lot in God tier. It is good. It is good. And it is that good. I've gone through a lot of limiters. I've done the Oxford limiter by Sonalksis, which is great. The Waves Pro L2, which we will get there eventually, and a number of others. But this one is probably the most used out of all the limiters that I've used in the past. It's so good. It does the thing, you know how sometimes you put a limiter on like your mix bus or like your instrument 2 bus or something like that, and it'll make your mid-range sound real exciting, but at the sacrifice of your low end sometimes. It's so frustrating when that happens. Like the low end either gets pumpy or flubby or sometimes the high end gets distorted or just like harsh or whatever. This tends to not do that. And because of that, I love it. I typically like a little bit more transparency in my limiters. I don't love a ton of character in my limiters. And that's the reason is because I'm not a mastering engineer. I am a mixing engineer for the most part. I'll do mastering on some stuff every now and then, but truth be told, when I'm getting my mix to sound how I like it, I put the Pro L2 on the transparent side, and that usually gets me where I want to go. It sounds really good. And again, it does the exciting thing to the mid-range, but without sacrificing the lows or the highs, which I do really like. Okay, this guy, Yum Audio. This is the crispy clip. I like it. I like it. To me, it's in between. It's a clipper, so like, what are we really judging? Here's the thing. It brightens up the top end. On some sources, it sounds really nice. I do like to use a clipper on individual tracks sometimes, like on kick drum. A clipper on the kick drum can really get it to like knock sometimes, which is pretty cool. So for kick drum, I like it a lot. For drum bus, it's a little bit too crispy. For mix bus, it can be good. I did use it on a couple of mixes, and I actually really liked how it turned out. But if your mix already has an exciting sounding top end, that can push it into harsh territory. So it's something to be aware of. But if you want the brightness, it does it well. It does it well. Okay, this is the SPL Iron compressor. Oh man, this may anger some people because this does have like a cult-like following. This is one where it truly lives in between these two. It's in between That'll Do, an excellent choice. And like, here's the deal. I'm going to put it in That'll Do. And the reason why, so the way that it saturates and the way that it gives character, because there's two things that I think of when I think of using a compressor. And the first is control dynamics. Don't be pumpy or weird unless you're going for pumpy or weird. And like, you know, you want to find the right compressor with the right attack and the right release and the way that it grabs the audio and controls the dynamics, all that kind of stuff, right? So dynamic control is kind of category one, and I look for that. And then the other thing that I look for is character out of my compressor. And this compressor has a character that is very similar to, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but it sounds very similar to the Avalon channel strip by UAD. And I kind of like the Avalon channel strip by UAD and the character that it adds a little bit better. I like this compressor on acoustic guitar. I like it on piano. It's okay on vocals. It's okay on guitars. It's not the type of character that I typically go for. And because of that, it's in the category that it's in. It sounds good. Oh my God, before I just insulted your setup, I'm not insulting your setup. If you own this plugin and you're excited, I am so excited for you. It's just not for me. So that's where it lives. Okay. Next up, Scheps Omni channel. And we are not judging the entire channel strip on this, just the dynamics processing of this channel strip. If we are judging the entire channel strip as a whole, God tier. For the dynamics, excellent choice. The dynamic section on this thing is really good. The FET does the FET compressor thing. It's got the crispiness. It's got the slight more, the aggression, slight more. Wow. The VCA sounds good. It's a little bit smoother. It tends to agree with a lot of different sources, and it's really versatile and sounds good and has great fidelity. So it's like, because of those things, and it's not harsh on the top end like sometimes FET compressors can be on plugins. Because of that, I'm putting it up there. Excellent choice. And really, just a great plugin. Just a great plugin. Okay. Softube VCA Compressor. I'll be honest, I downloaded this for free. It's going right there. Excellent choice, Dan. And Dan, that was a good choice. I downloaded this for free like a year and a half ago. They were doing like a giveaway of like a couple of their plugins. And that's the other thing. I will say this. Plugins get expensive. Like, side rant with me real quick. Plugins get real expensive and you never get your money back. It's the downside to plugins. Like, if I buy an expensive piece of hardware, like, I get criticized for having nice hardware. And the thing that I think about hardware, it's kind of like a savings account sometimes. Like, you can buy that piece of hardware, and if it doesn't work out for your studio, or if you just find yourself on troublesome financial times, you can sell it and you can get your money back. Oftentimes, you can sell it for even more than you paid for if you picked up that item used and you found a good deal, which I buy a lot of what I do used. It's just a great way to go about it. And again, you get your money back. But with plugins, you download a plugin, you don't like it. If you're past that return window, sorry, you're out of money. Yes, it's less money than buying hardware. Like, a plugin sometimes is $30 or $60 or $100 or whatever it is. But again, you'll never see that money again. So one thing that I always tell people is keep an eye out, because plugin companies are always giving away plugins for free. And this one I was able to download for free just on some promotion that they had. And it was great. It was great. But this VCA compressor, I feel like it's modeled after a DBX 160, to be honest. It does the DBX 160 thing. It's got the hard knee, the way that it grabs the audio. It accentuates the punchiness, so it can be really good on drums. But at the same time, it can also be like smooth on certain spoken word and things like that. So it can also work well on like voiceover type stuff too. Like it's a good versatile compressor. When you push into it, it's got a decent amount of punch though. So I do like it for that. So it's going an excellent choice. It was worth every penny that I paid. That's for sure. Okay. UAD LA2A, we're going to do all their LA2As, the Silver edition. Ooh, unexpected, right? Here's the deal. With the silver edition of the LA2A, it has a top end. Some people will describe it as a sparkle or a character. I describe it as harshness. And it really does, when you really dig into it, it comes out more and more. And I love digging into an LA2A. Like, I love pushing into that compressor a little more. And like, because of that, it just doesn't agree with a lot of the stuff that I do. So I'm over it. Honestly, am I going to reinstall it? Wow, I don't think I will. Because honestly, there's better LA2As. There's better LA2As. Wow, I can't believe it. That one lives there. All right, so that's probably going to surprise some people. And then we've got the regular LA2A, the Teletronics LA2A. This one is excellent choice. Great on vocals, great on acoustic guitar, great on piano. A lot of stuff that you like your LA2As. It does the LA2A thing, and it does it well. Good tube-like saturation on the amplifier stage. The way that it grabs the audio and lets it go, very much true to the optical compressor thing. So the dynamic control checks that box. The fidelity checks that box. The character checks that box. Why is it not God tier? Because this one is. That is the LA2, which is different from the LA2A. And really only because I like the LA2 better, I'm going to put it in God tier. It's so good. It's crazy. I love it on vocals. I love it on spoken word. I love it on acoustic guitar. The top end on that one is open and sparkly and has character, but it almost never gets harsh or too much. Unless you've got a really bright sounding microphone that's really sibilant. That's the only time that I feel like it doesn't work. And often, sometimes, it still works with those. It's just such a good compressor. It's very versatile. The only thing I'll say is with some sources, the way that the audio grabs and lets go, it can be a little pumpy and the release can be just a little slow. So for that, there's like hold on, am I using it on my voiceover chain right now? I believe I am. Yeah, so like what I'll do is this HF plus or minus button, you just got to roll that around and find like a sweet spot so that you can get that, the way that the compressor grabs the audio and what it lets through and all that. It changes the character and the way that it handles everything. And it sounds great. So for that reason, God tier. I use it all the time. All right, this is a stock compressor for Logic. This is going to surprise some people too. People think that stock plugins are garbage. They are not. I need you to understand, stock plugins are not garbage. We're going to put that in excellent choice. Here's the deal. With the Logic stock compressor, you've got so many options. You can do the FET or the VCA thing. You've got like tonal characteristics that you can bring out of it. It's very versatile. It works on a lot of stuff. And I can't believe it's free. And it's for that reason that it's in excellent choice, Dan, because like if we are going just by audio and audio alone, it's probably that'll do. Well, I don't know. It's pretty good. But the fact is that it comes for free with Logic, and you guys are so lucky that that plugin just is in Logic. I really like the FET setting on that compressor. That sounds really good. A couple years ago, I was actually over at a buddy's house, and he was like showing me a mix that he was working on, and he was like kind of going through some of the tracks and kind of showing me what he was doing. And I kept seeing this compressor pull up all over like all these different tracks, and I was asking him, "Hey, what's the compressor you got on the kick? That actually sounds great." And he was like, "Oh, it's just the stock Logic plugin." And I was like, "Wow. That's actually super good." And I was really impressed with it then. I'm continuously impressed with it. I mean, Logic, well done. I applaud you. That is in the running for the greatest stock plugin of all time, for compressors anyway. So it is great. Great stuff. All right, this is the Universal Audio 175 and 176. Here's the deal. I'm gonna put it in that'll do. I like the character. So like, again, the two things I look for in a compressor is like, one of them is the character and what it does to the audio. This thing has great character. I really like the character that it gives. The dynamic control element of this, I just haven't found the sweet spot for it. I mean, I guess I've used it a couple of times, but it's like the sweet spot for that thing is microscopic. Like figuring out the attack and release on that, like sometimes it works and you have to push into it just this amount and it sounds good. But there's so many times where I'll start using this and the character sounds good, but it just feels like it flattens the track, you know? So because of that, and because I haven't really used it on a lot of stuff and loved it, it's in that'll do. I want to get to know it better because there's so many people that swear by it, but I haven't gotten along with it. So maybe I'm just dreaming that I like it because I might just be over it. But I honestly, I'll put it in that'll do because I still feel like I need to just give it more. I need to give it more chances because I love UAD's compressors for the most part. But yeah, that one, All right, this is the Brainworx Clipper. Oh man, that one is, oh God. Okay, so as far as clippers go, it's hard to put any clipper in a higher tier because it's a clipper. I'm putting this one in God tier because for clippers, anyways, that's the one I go to the most. Yeah, there's like Gold Clip and like a Crispy Clip and all the other clippers and things like that. Truth be told, I just like what the Brainworx Clipper does. It's got FET and diode mode on it, and honestly, every single mix that I use a clipper on the master bus, like when I'm trying to really like control those dynamic peaks, I'm one of those guys that puts a clipper and then my limiter. Towards the end of the mix. Like I'll put the limiter like kind of like halfway through the mixing process because mixing into a limiter can change the balance of the tracks, right? And then further towards the end of the mix, I'll start putting my clipper on. And sometimes it goes on drum bus, that's rare. And then oftentimes it'll go on master bus right before the limiter to control just the highest peaks. And so I don't like push into clippers super hard usually. Again, I'm not usually mastering, so I don't need to do that. And so just shaving off a couple peaks on like some kick and snare hits, like that kind of thing, it's great for that. It's really great for that. And it sounds... Brainworx stuff, which is, I think it's Plugin Alliance, if I'm not mistaken, but the Brainworx stuff always has great fidelity. That is something that you can always check that box. Like they just sound good, and because of that, I use them frequently. So as far as like clippers go, that's my personal favorite. I know that there's other clippers that people love. I'm also just somebody that refuses to pay more than like, God, I don't know that I'm ever going to want to download a clipper ever again. And I forget, how much does Gold Clip even cost? Or is it Orange Clip? What is it? Yeah, this is the Black Friday. This is not sponsored, of course, but the Black Friday sale, it's got it on sale for $175. I cannot justify a clipper for that cost. And so I use the Brainworx because it does what I want it to. I'm also not a person that gets plugin gas, you know? Like as far as the marketing for plugins goes, I'm pretty immune to it for the most part. Like I've seen so many plugins and I've seen them come and go. I've seen the trends. I've jumped on the trends for some plugins and I fell for that marketing and hype and all that. And I've seen so many of those marketing campaigns and hype campaigns that I'm just like, oh, you got a clipper? That's cool. I can't justify it. So I'll most likely never, ever use any of those expensive clippers because, come on, it's a clipper. I use it to shave off a few transients, and I don't want it to sound bad. And the Brainworx Clipper does exactly that. Everything else, I get all my other plugins to do the work that I want to do. So it's not for me. Okay. Disclaimers out of the way, because I'm sure that probably offends somebody. Again, if you paid $300 for your clipper and you're excited about it, I'm excited for you. Okay, let's dive into the SSL stuff. So I got a bunch of SSL plugins lined up here, starting with, this is the Waves SSL Bus Compressor. That's going in God tier. I like the Waves SSL Bus Compressor. I love that it is smooth. There are a lot of bus compressors that tend to hype the high end, which some of them can sound nice. We will get into that. But as far as bus compressors go, the Waves is one of the smoothest of all of the bus compressors. And so if I am going for a smoother glue kind of compression, that does it really well. I love using it on drum bus, especially. And here's the deal. I oftentimes work with like sessions that are sent to me that were recorded at home. And so like if they don't have really nice mics, like overheads, like cheap overhead mics with cheap cymbals is typically a pretty gnarly combo from time to time. Like it just brings out a lot of harshness in that like 7K to 12K kind of range. The Waves bus compressor smooths things out really nicely. And it's that smoothness that I like and that I use it for. It may not be the most used SSL bus compressor that I have, but when I go for smoothness, it does it really well. So for that, I applaud Waves. For the fact that I've had to pay twice for that plugin, I denounce Waves. That's a thing. They got to figure that out. Like, I hate paying for plugins twice. And that is unfortunately a thing that will happen with some Waves plugins. And I have had to do that a couple of times. Okay, moving on. UAD SSL Bus Compressor. Also God tier, and they're just going to live right there next to each other. I like it for all the reasons that I might choose the Waves SSL Bus Compressor, but without the smoothness. This does hype the high end a little bit, but I don't hate the way that it hypes the high end. Another side rant. Join me on a side rant quest one more time. A lot of UAD plugins, not all, but a lot of UAD plugins will do this UAD thing where they will saturate and distort and give like harmonics to like your upper mids. It's very universal audio-y. And oftentimes I'll know when somebody gets like their UAD plugin pack and all of their mixes all of a sudden have that same kind of saturation and character in the upper mids. I'm like, oh yeah, I can hear it from a mile away now. I'm like, oh, that sounds like UAD. It doesn't sound bad. It sounds great, but it is very UAD. And so it's like with the SSL Bus Compressor, I do like the smoothness that the Waves offers, but if it's smoothing out the top end a little too much for me, I will go to the UAD, and I really like the character and the sound of the UAD Bus Compressor. It does the same glue that you look for out of the SSL compressor, but just a different flavor. It's great. Both of them, fantastic. All right, and I'm not just going to do a ton of SSL bus compressors. I honestly just didn't want to talk about the other ones that I've used, but we're going to move on to the SSL channel strip and, again, speak specifically about the dynamics. We are not going to judge like the preamp sections or like the EQs or anything like that, just the dynamics sections alone. SSL. This is Waves SSL channel strip. I'm over it. I haven't had to pay for it twice. Here's the deal. If they make me pay for it again, I'm not doing it. I'm uninstalling it. I'm not gonna, no. But for now, it'll stay on. No, it won't. I don't think I would reinstall it if I upgraded my computer. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm pretty much done with the Waves SSL stuff. The compression on their channel strip is like, it's just nothing to write home about. Like there's nothing about it that gives me everything that I look for. Like it controls dynamics okay, but it gives me none of the character, is how I feel. And so because of that, if we're speaking again specifically about the dynamics section, I would not reinstall it. The EQ I would still use every now and then, but to stick with kind of the theme of just judging the dynamics, I would go without it. No, thank you. All right. What about the Brainworx, the SSL 4000? And I typically like the E. It's funny. I was actually talking to someone on TikTok that I follow, and he was asking like why I like the E as compared to the G or the J. And they're all a little bit different. I feel like the E has a little bit more like aggression to it and a little bit more like coloration and distortion and that kind of sound. It's just got some hair to it that I enjoy, and because of that, I like the E series the most. So that's the one I'm always going to talk about. But the other ones are good. They're just a little bit smoother in some ways. The J is the most like hi-fi sounding, and the G kind of sits in between, if you ask me. But the E series, we're going to God tier with that one. I love the energy and the punch that I get from the dynamic section of that SSL channel strip. It is so good. I have used it a number of times on a snare drum track, and I will use the gate because the gate, the way that it grabs and lets go is very musical. It's very easy to use. You can fine tune it. It's glorious. I really do like it. And the compressor is punchy. It's really good. It hits you in the chest when you're looking for that sound that the SSL dynamics sections will give you. And for that reason, God tier. It's so good. That is also, just side note, one of my favorite channel strips that I use in the plugin world. It's so great. All right, moving on. All right, Waves, Renaissance stuff. So this is going to be, like the R comp, the R bass, the R Vox, like all that fun stuff, right? I'm going to go with excellent choice, Dan. That sounded aggressive the way I said it. Excellent choice, Dan. Yeah, it's okay. Renaissance. I said this in my like Black Friday plugin deals video, but the Renaissance stuff is when you are looking for fidelity and transparency. It's so good for just like transparency, but more fidelity than a lot of stock plugins offer. Like there is a hi-fi sound that you get from the Renaissance stuff, the R stuff, and the dynamics characteristics of it are always just top notch. I always love the way that it handles dynamics and the characteristics of that, but it's not full of character. But I guess the character that it has is the lack of character, because you're not always looking for more saturation or more harmonic content to be added in, right? Like sometimes you just want it to sound natural and clean and transparent. And when you want that, the Renaissance stuff does that really well. And the R Vox is, I forget who said it, but they said it was the most influential vocal compressor of all time. And I kind of agree. Like that is the compressor that has lived on so many vocal chains for years. Like there's especially in like the hip hop and rap worlds, like those guys still consistently use the R Vox, and for good reason. They sound great. So excellent choice. There are other compressors that I like more. I love character compressors, and only for that reason is it down here an excellent choice. Otherwise, it would probably be God tier. All right, this is the Arturia. Look, I've got so many plugins on this thing. You can't even see the whole like tier list. This is the Arturia, the Tube STA or Stay Tube. I always forget. This guy, it's going up here. Excellent choice. It's a good sounding plugin. I like it a lot. Great on vocals, great on acoustic guitar. It looks like it's just packed full of vibe and sauce, and truth be told, it's a little more subtle. And I typically only reach for this if I'm going for subtle compression anyways. I like the character of the compressor, the way that it like grabs and lets go of audio. You don't have a ton of control over, so it either works or it doesn't. That's kind of a downside. And then like these were originally, like the hardware units were originally made for like broadcast in like the 1950s. And so of course, with that specific job alone, there's gonna be some limitations with music. If you use it as a vocal compressor, you're probably gonna be stacking it along with other compressors, like maybe something to catch peaks. And truth be told, if you are recording like a more aggressive vocal style, it's probably not your compressor. It's more of the sweet, smooth, and gentle type of stuff, usually. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule. The one time that I will reach for this every time is if I've got, this is oddly specific, but bear with me, a P bass with flat wounds, and he's hitting it with a pick. And the reason why is it lets the transient through, and the transient that it lets through, it kind of gets this soft clipping kind of thing that happens. And I really like the character that it adds into just the pick attack on a P bass with flat wounds. It could probably be a J bass as well, but like that kind of sound, that thumpy bass kind of sound, I think it does really well for that. And I remember stacking this up with the Softube saturation knob, which is a free saturator, and this compressor, and just like sitting back and listening and going like, I'm done. That sounds perfect. And it's, you know, of course, song specific. There are often times that you want to control like those blooms that happen in the bass signal, like especially if you're miking up like an amp, the bass can kind of bloom on certain notes, and so you want to control that so it's not distracting. In those cases, this is maybe not your compressor, or you might want to put like other compressors with it. But there are some times where it's just like, just this, and we're gonna push into it just a little bit, and it's perfect. And that's exactly what it needs. For a lot of other stuff, it sounds good. It sounds nice. It's just not the most versatile compressor, but it sounds great. All right, this is the Baby Audio Parallel Aggressor. And with a name like that, I'm over it. Listen, Baby Audio makes some fun plugins. They really do. I talked about their tape plugin, which also I thought was really funny. Little side note on this. When I mentioned that in my last plugin video, somebody was like, oh, the way that they spell tape is because it's used with AI. I get it. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. I was like, I don't know why they spelled that plugin to sound like Borat was saying it. But anyway, Baby Audio, they make a lot of fun plugins. They do. I'm a big fan of like their Comeback Kid, and the Super VHS is pretty cool. And like a couple other plugins are great. But the Parallel Aggressor, like, and chances are, if I'm reaching for that, because it typically a lot of people talk about it going on like the drum bus. And chances are, if I'm reaching for that plugin on the drum bus, I just need to remix my drums, truth be told. The controls are intuitive. It works well, but it's almost always too much. But again, with a name like Parallel Aggressor, what are you expecting? But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of like overly processed and saturated sounding drums, you know? Like I like them to sit where they need to sit, and if I need more punch, I'm gonna remix the drums a little bit. I may change the compression that I'm gonna use. I may change a couple things, but yeah, this, I don't know. I'm just kind of over it. I'm keeping it around. I'll still install it next time. I've used it a handful of times, but it's just not something I use a lot. All right, UAD API 2500. That'll do. It's good. It doesn't sound bad, but it's not the compressor that I go for. API 2500 is a great drum bus compressor. The UAD version, I almost never use it on drum bus. I will sometimes use it on the full instrument 2 bus, and it sounds pretty good. Sometimes I'll use it on hi-hats, and that sounds, or not hi-hats, overheads, and that sounds pretty good. I've even used it on like some stereo sources, like stereo acoustic guitar, and that sounds pretty good. So it's a usable plugin. It sounds good, but from what I want out of that compressor, I just don't get. So it's usable, but also weirdly a disappointment. So it'll do. It's a tool. It works. I'm just not over the moon about it. Okay, this is the sound of the early 2000s indie rock. This is the Waves L2 Maximizer. I'm putting that in excellent choice. Here's the deal. It's hated by so many people, and you're valid. The reasons why you hate it, perfectly acceptable. I understand. I know the complaints. Let me know in the comments down below how I've offended you, of course. But like, the L2 is interesting to me. And the reason why it's interesting, you remember what I was saying about like the Pro L2 by FabFilter? It makes your mid-range exciting without sacrificing your lower high end. This does a few things that's kind of crazy. If you put it on your mix bus, it does a magic trick where it makes your snare disappear. And like sometimes it can distort things in your upper mids that are just so unpleasant, but it is that specific type of distortion and excitement that happens in your mid-range that kind of makes it perfect when you need it. I almost never use it on an instrument 2 bus. I love using it on bass guitar. I love using it on bass guitar DI after I hit it with like a Blue Stripe 1176, and most likely maybe an LA2A. I might just like kiss an LA2A, and then I'll send it in the L2. And I know that's 3 levels of compression, and that's crazy, but I'll have it hit at different stages, and it gets the grittiness of the bass to stick out without anything else just overwhelming the signal. I love it when it's the right tool. It's the right tool. Same thing on guitars, like on guitar bus specifically. That thing can actually sound great. It brings out the mids a whole lot. And again, only when you're looking to really slam something with a limiter and to shave just a couple dB. It's not something that I get like 6 or 7 or 10 dB of reduction out of. Like, no. Fun story, those things used to be in rack mount units. Like back in the day, the L2 Ultra Maximizer was a rack mount unit. And when I say it was the sound of the early 2000s indie rock, like those rack mount units were used all over the place. It was one of those like studio standards for a lot of mixing rooms, and a lot of places used it, and it gave you that sound. And yeah, it just, to me, it sounds like the early 2000s, which again, using the tools from those eras, if you're trying to capture certain sounds, it can do that. It's a usable tool, and I understand why you hate it. All right, DBX 160 by UAD. Ooh. It's hard for me to get overly excited about like a DBX 160 style compressor plugin. So it's an excellent choice, but it is really good. I do like that one a lot. I would recommend getting that if you find it at a good price. There's a couple times that I use it. Kick drum. I love front loading that compressor with low end because how it handles the signal with extra low end, like pushed into it, is pleasant. Almost no other compressor sounds great when you shove a bunch of low end into it, but that one I really like what it does. The way that it grabs the audio is fantastic, very punchy. It does the DBX thing. And again, smooth when you want it to be smooth, like on spoken word and stuff like that. It's a great compressor. It's a DBX 160. What more can you say? Punchy. Wonderful. All right, now we're getting into FET style compressors. So, okay, this one, a lot of people won't recognize, and it looks super cool. And I chose this version of this plugin. The Mark II version that they've come out with looks totally different, but I miss this. It looks like an old hi-fi machine, which is just cool. But this is by Softube. This is their FET compressor. We're going to put that in. Excellent choice, Dan. I like this compressor. The fidelity is great. It adds a great character. The only reason why it's not God tier is because if I'm thinking about a FET compressor, I'm typically thinking about 1176. And there's some other compressors that I just like a little bit better. So it's not in God tier for that reason. But one thing I do think it does really well is when you are slamming that compressor. If you are going for over compression as an effect, it does that really well. I was working on a mix once that had like these like octaves that were just these slow, like, I almost said diminishing, but just like, you know, like just going down like a flight of stairs, just like these low octaves on an upright piano. And I just slammed into that compressor so that it would almost do the thing of where the attack kind of comes through and then you get this like swell of the note. And I loved that sound on that mix so much. It was dreamy. It was weird, but in all the right ways. And that's actually a quick little side tangent again. There is a difference between a mix that sounds technically correct and a mix that sounds cool. Don't be afraid to make a mix that sounds cool and different. Some people may say, "Oh, that piano is overcompressed. Like you shouldn't overcompress that." It was intentional. That's what I was going for. And ultimately, that's all that matters. We are making creative decisions. We are not trying to make it sound exactly like a hit song or exactly like this or that. That's what makes boring ass music. Make cool mixes. And that means don't follow the rule book. And that is a compressor that I think does a great job at not following the rules. Or at least that's the tool I use when I'm not trying to follow the rules. So for that reason, it's an excellent choice. They have moved on to the Mark II of this. It sounds the same, but man, doesn't that one look cool. All right, UAD 1176s. We're going straight up here to God tier. I like UAD compressors. And I feel mixed, just like a lot of people do about UA. Like Universal Audio, I'm not like a fanboy, and I'm not one of those people that hates everything they do either. I'm in between. I feel mixed, right? I trust them as far as I can see them. But here's the deal. With their 1176 compressor, it is, in my opinion, the best reproduction of an 1176 on the market right now. If you know of an 1176 that you think sounds better than I am not mentioning here today, let me know. An 1176 is one of my favorite compressors on the planet, so I would always love to at least download a free trial and try it out. I'm always looking for a really good 1176. And I even own two different 1176s in hardware version. I've got the Bluey 500 and the Lindell Audio Lin 76. I've made videos about both of those. Go check those out if you want. I even did a shootout between the UAD 1176 and the Lindell Audio. That was an interesting video. A lot of people had some very complex feelings about that. But with that being said, they are my favorite 1176 plugins. I think that they do a great job and they stand up to the hardware. Do they sound worse? No, they're different. That's the thing. Like hardware versus plugins. Do they sound different? Yes. Oh my God, yes. But that's not the question. It's do they sound better? And that only you can decide. Choose carefully. All right, Slate Digital. That'll do. With the Slate Digital stuff, it's good. It sounds good. You can make a hit song with those plugins, right? For sure. But I just like other compressors more. Generally speaking, it handles dynamics well, and it's got decent character. It's just not the character that I look for. And sometimes is going to insult some people, and I don't want it to, but sometimes with some of their compressors, especially on their FET compressors, it just flattens the sound too much, which happens with compression, especially digital compression. Just the sound gets flattened a little bit, right? And because of that, I don't like the Slate Digital stuff as much. It's not that I don't like it or it sounds bad. Keep that in mind. If you're excited about it, I'm excited for you. I just don't like it as much as other options. Like the UAD, in my opinion, blows it out of the water. The Softube blows it out of the water. But that is just my preference. I think it handles dynamics well. I think it's got a decent character. It's just not the character that I go for personally. One thing I will say is that like the blue stripe of their 1176, which is pictured here, sounds a little thin. I didn't like it so much. The one that's all blue, it's got a little bit better bass response. But again, just the character of it, I just didn't get along with quite as much. So they're not for me. I know a lot of metal guys really like them, which is interesting. It's not the first thing that I would reach for those tones, but that's cool. Sounds like we make different music. Okay. And the last of, no, it's not the last, but second to last of the 1176s. This is the CLA76. I feel the same about the CLA76 as I do the Slate Digital. It sounds good. It's just not the character that I go for, and I'm not going to repeat everything that I said. I will say I do like the blue stripe version of the CLA76 a little bit more. That one may live in between. So yeah, I guess these do live in between. I like the blue stripe 1176 from Waves. But yeah, that'll do. That's where it lives. All right. Last of the 1176s, this is the Universal Audio, and this is the, what is it, 6176? It's not the LA610. Yeah, it's like the 1176 style compressor that's attached to the 610 preamp. Yeah, that goes right there too. That'll do. It's if I'm gonna put an 1176 plugin on anything, I'm going to put an 1176 plugin on it. It just doesn't necessarily, I don't know. If for no other reason, it could sound the exact same, but just for the controls. If for no other reason, just the controls, I would put it in that category. It's just, whatever reason you like your tools, right? Maybe you like the VU meters on something. That's a legitimate reason to like something. That's fine. Does it have knobs that are in places that you get along with? That's a great reason too. All right, Manley variable mu stereo compressor. That's going right up here to excellent choice. Listen, it does what it does well. It sounds good. I like it a lot on mix bus. That's where I get the most use out of it. Occasionally acoustic guitar or piano or something like the gentle acoustic instruments. I think it does a great job with subtle compression, shave off 2 dB, 3 dB here and there. But honestly, I typically use it on mix bus or instrument bus. It sounds great. It does give you some character. It does have a sound to it. One thing I will say, like many UAD plugins, I noticed that when I put it on my signal and I engage that compressor, it automatically adds a dB or 2 or 3 of like level. And so because of that, you're going to think it sounds great. So make adjustments to it to make it so it's exactly level matched, and then turn it on and off to see if you like what it's adding. Just saying. It's a mistake we all make, even the pros at the highest levels. We'll put a compressor on and be like, oh, it sounds great. And then you'll A/B it and you're like, yeah. And it's also giving you volume. And so we all do it. Okay, Waves CLA2A. I'm putting it right there next to the CLA76. I feel the same way about that as I do about the 76. It's good. It sounds good. It's got fidelity. It's just, to me, if I'm thinking LA2A or LA2, I'm going to go for those compressors. I typically just won't reach for the CLA, but that one sounds great. All right, this is the old, the archaic, the ancient Waves C1 compressor. This is like in the early days of waves. Honestly, that'll do. There's a lot of waves, like early wave stuff that I actually really like. The de-esser is one of my favorite de-esser plugins of all time. Great fidelity, shaves off harshness, or works also as a de-esser. Those are great. The C1, it's a tool. It does a job. It sounds good. It's got good fidelity again, but it doesn't really give me anything that I am looking for out of a compressor other than just dynamics control. And if I'm going to give a transparent compressor the time of day, I'm going to reach for either the Renaissance or the FabFilter. So yeah, it just, there's other ones that beat it out, but it's not like it sounds bad. It sounds great. And honestly, if you've got it, try it out. All right, this is a compressor that almost no one will recognize, except for, and if you do recognize this, like, your lower back is probably disagreeing with you at this stage in the video because you've been sitting for this amount of time without stretching. That's a joke about you being old. Okay. This is the Sonalksis. I hope I pronounced that correct. Also, I don't care. I don't even think this company makes this compressor anymore. I do weirdly still have it on my system, and it will still work. I'm putting it right there. That'll do. This was the first plugin purchase that I made. I paid real money and real dollars for a plugin, and I couldn't believe it. And again, this is for a time in a place that is very different from today. When oh God, this is going to age me a lot. When I first was working in a studio and I was interning, we were talking about how one day plugins will be just as good as the hardware and more people will use plugins than they will hardware. And that's crazy. And look at us now. And now we use hardware almost never, and we use plugins for almost everything, right? Like, I have a couple pieces of hardware, but I mean, when we talk about, the hundreds of little bits of processing that you do on a mix, the hardware that I use is maybe 2% of that. 5% at most, right? So yeah, but anyway, so it was like back in that time where like plugins were getting better, but they were only just getting up to snuff of like being worth using on a mix at all. And this was the first compressor that I heard that I thought actually sounded pretty good. Like compared to like the stock, like Steinberg plugins, because I was a Cubase user back then too. Because that first studio that I worked in was using Cubase. So that ruined me forever. But this was the first like plugin that I purchased, and it sounded good. And it did have some analog characteristics in the way that it handled the dynamics, and I really enjoyed it. When I purchased that plugin, I just remember thinking like, oh my God, this immediately made my mixes sound like 7% better. And it was just a game changer. And it really did sound a lot better than a lot of the stock plugins. So I was impressed with that. Sonalksis, I don't even know if like these are supported anymore or if you can even download them anymore. But yeah, just a fun trip down memory lane. Why not? All right, Manley Voxbox. Let's put this one, and again, we are just judging only the dynamics processing. So the compressor and the de-esser. So not the preamp section, not the EQ or anything like that, just the compression and de-essing. I'm going to put it an excellent choice. If it was just the compressor, I might be in that'll do. I don't use it a whole lot. It sounds fine. It sounds nice, but there's, I don't know, nothing really to write home about. I think you can choose 3-to-1 ratio or 10-to-1 ratio, and you've got a threshold control, and then you've got attack and release, but just like preset, like slow, medium, fast, and then a couple that are in between. The de-esser is great, though. I do like the de-esser, and I actually use that de-esser, and sometimes I will pull up that entire plugin just to use the de-esser, because I really do like the de-esser on that. So because of that, it goes up here an excellent choice. But I mean, honestly, Yeah, other than that, just the compressor, that'll do. But yeah, the de-esser actually makes it a little bit more worthwhile. So, all right, here's another fun one. This it has a cult-like following, and I will sing the praises of this. This is the Klanghelm MJUC. I'm going to put that in excellent choice, Dan. Klanghelm is an interesting compressor. It's got a lot of character. It's got a lot of vibiness to it. And it actually gives you 3 compressors in one. And the thing that I also love about it is it's just dirt cheap. Like, I don't remember how much I paid for it, but you can usually get this thing for around $30, $40, something like that. But they're great. They're great compressors. You get 3 compressors in one, and then the little panel that's down below, you can actually like drive. You can like turn it a little bit more hi-fi or a little darker sounding. The drive characteristics actually adds in a good amount of drive. So it can get a little distorty. So it is kind of cool for that. And they just sound great. I do use that compressor on a lot of stuff. It sounds great. It sounds cool. It's cheap. It probably is worth the download. I've kept mine around for, I think, going on about 10 years now. It's a great compressor. All right, Softube, the CL1B, the Tube Tech. I'm going to put that one in excellent choice as well. Great vocal compressor when you are looking for the CL1B type of thing. It does that job really well. I mean, it sounds like a CL1B in a lot of ways. Of course, it's not going to sound exactly like the hardware, right? But Softube in general, they do a great job with emulating hardware. So excellent choice, Dan. Let's move on. All right, Avalon 737 channel strip. And again, we're not judging the preamp or the EQ, just the dynamic section alone. I do like it. I do like it, and I do find myself using this compressor a lot, again, on gentler sounding instruments, the acoustic guitar, the piano, occasionally a vocal, if it's a very gentle vocal, spoken word, a lot of those types of things, the compressor works really well. I don't typically go for it on bass or guitars or punchier stuff like drums or anything like that, but I do like it on a lot of the other stuff. So softer stuff. Singer-songwriters, this is a decent plugin to have. All right, back to the Softube. This is the Chandler Germanium compressor. I spoke about this in my Black Friday weekend plugin deals video, which a lot of those deals are still going on today. Today is Monday, which I think is Cyber Monday. So go watch that video. I did point out a lot of plugins that are honestly on a really good sale. So okay, the Chandler Germanium compressor, I am going to put that in, hold on, I need to do this in stages, in God tier. I honestly think that is one of the better plug-in compressors that I have used in like the past few years. It's a very character-full kind of compressor. It does a distorted thing really well. It crushes drums really well. And that's honestly what I use it for the most, but it is all the time. It is a great compressor, really good fidelity. And I mentioned this in the last video too, but the 2 knobs at the very end are really where the magic happens with this compressor. And one is the germanium drive, and then the other one is feedback. And it's kind of like a push and pull. Like if you really gain into the drive, come back on the feedback, because what the feedback does is it actually sends some of that signal back to the input of the compressor, and it processes that again. And so you can kind of do the thing of where you gain it up, but you keep the feedback low, but then do the opposite of where you turn the gain down, but you turn the feedback up. And you kind of get like a different character out of the compressor. It's really cool and makes it more versatile than you might think. It does sound good on a lot of different sources. It sounds great on guitars. It can sound kind of cool on a vocal if you're going for like a special thing. But it is my favorite drum smasher. I love it for that. It's a great compressor. All right, Waves, H-Comp. That'll do. It's not bad. It's got good fidelity. Yeah, it's just, again, it's one of those things. There's a lot of compressors. You're starting to hear me sound like a broken record. They give you the dynamics control that you're looking for, but the character of the compressor just doesn't really give me a lot of the character that I'm looking for out of a compressor. So they're fine. They do a good job. They sound good. You can make a hit record with it. I just prefer other stuff. All right, and API Vision channel strip. This is going to, again, to just be the compressor on this channel strip. Man, I love that channel strip, and that channel strip lives in God tier for the preamp and the EQ, but the compressor I don't use as often. I don't typically like it as much, so for that, it's going in That'll Do. So I love using the Vision channel strip on drums. And if I am mixing drums, I typically go for other compressor sounds. 1176's DBX160, the Germanium compressor, FET compressor, assorted different FET compressors, like that kind of thing. But not really the API Vision. It just, that'll do. All right, and we finally made it. Oh my God. This is the Capital Mastering Compressor by UAD. I'm over it. Here's the deal with the Capital Mastering Compressor. It's got a sound, and the sound that it has is it's kind of got this roundness to the low end, and it extends your low end into the sub lows like a lot, honestly. But it does change the sound of the mix, and so you need to be aware of that. And again, I'm the type of person that I like the mixes that I make. And since the type of stuff that I work on is typically like, oh, here's, the drum tracks that were recorded. So kick drum, snare drum, toms, overheads, room mics, etc. And guitar amps and bass DI and vocals and all of that. I'm typically doing a lot of hands-on stuff where I'm tone shaping a lot of how the session comes together. I don't work with a whole lot of MIDI instruments and like those types of tracks. And so if I put something on my master bus and it is changing the overall signature and sound of the entire mix, chances are I'm not gonna be a huge fan of that sound. And the Capital Mastering Compressor, it does that. It changes the sound signature, and it does add a lot of saturation. And again, there's this like low end thing that happens to where it just turns into too much. I actually did use it on one mix, and the client, the first email that I got back about the mix, because you go through couple stages and you may get revision notes, mix revision requests and all that. And one of the revision requests was, hey, the low end is epic and needs to be turned down. And sure enough, it was like, oh, turn off the Capital Mastering Compressor. And that actually fixed it. It does a lot to your low end and a little bit to your high end too. And I have never used it with more than like 1.5 dB of compression before I felt like it was too much. So it's a compressor that it's kind of cool and it sounds kind of cool. And I keep it around in case it ever works. I'll try it on stuff every now and then, but I don't know. For the most part, I feel about that kind of the way that I feel about the Fairchild compressors. It's just like, I'm kind of over it. So, all right, let's take a look at this list and see if I need to make any changes here. Oh my God, it's so big, I can't even fit it into the entire screen. Okay, I love the God tier stuff. The BX Clipper, yeah, Clippers are just funny. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I mean, truth be told, I'm pretty confident in locking this one in. This is epic. I'm gonna do more of these plugin tier lists. I'll do EQs. I'll do like reverbs and other processing. Like maybe I'll do like all my favorite like aux send plugin chains for like reverbs and delays and and space echoes and fun stuff like that. But listen, if you got something out of this video and you enjoyed this video, I need you to do a few things for me. Hit the buttons that you see down below. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so already, and yeah, click the links down below. I've got a link to Plugin Boutique down below. It costs you nothing, but if you do decide to make a purchase of any of these plugins, it gives me a small kickback, which allows this channel to exist without having to take sponsors. So I very much appreciate you, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.